$1 million per episode salary. How the cast of Friends negotiated their historic salaries. By William R. Light. While most television shows today will earn a cast member a salary of around $4,631 as of 2011, the Friends cast back in the 90s were earning $22,500 per episode. However, after the second season, they weren't happy with their salaries, and so they decided to negotiate for more money. This proved to be a good move for them, as they would continually jump in pay each year by minimal increments. That is, of course, until they reached season 7, where they jumped from $125,000 to a whopping $750,000 per episode, and finally to an astounding $1 million per episode for their final 2 seasons. At the time of the negotiation, NBC was the most watched television station for more than a decade, and they stood to lose that coveted stature if they couldn't negotiate a new contract with the cast of Friends, and they knew it. So how did they manage to keep their position? They almost reluctantly agreed to pay the cast what they demanded. This stemmed from their 2000 negotiation, in which they agreed to pay the cast $750,000 per episode, up from $125,000 for 2 more seasons, in a down-to-the-wire negotiation. The cast would then again use this tactic to negotiate up to their historic 2002 salary boost, after scoffing at a reported $800,000 offer. Because they weren't willing to stand down from their demands, NBC was forced to either pay up or lose big time in the end. While Friends was the most watched television show of its time, one nagging question still remains. What would have happened had they not reached their historic agreement? To figure this out, we first need to discover what each party wanted, or more importantly, what was their position and interest in this negotiation. For the cast, that answer is simple. They felt they were worth more money than they were getting paid, and so they demanded it. With the studio, it's not so cut and dry. They knew they wanted to keep their coveted must-watch TV Thursday spot, but in order to do that, they would need to negotiate with the cast of Friends. Through this negotiation, many techniques were used to ensure the cast got what they were demanding, and one such technique was dirty tricks. The cast knew that NBC had nothing on their slate for the upcoming year, and so cast member Lisa Kudrow suggested that by holding out until the 11th hour, they would be able to win the contract they had desired. While that technique was used initially in the 2007 Season 7 negotiations, it was also used in the 2002 Season 9 negotiations. Mutual benefit was also used in this negotiation, as can be observed in the final results. Friends stays on the air with the cast making $1 million an episode, and the NBC network gets to remain the most watched television station for at least another 2 years. Finally, we see the use of status. The cast of the show knew that NBC would lose their status as the most watched station, so they used their star appeal to convince the studio to keep them on the air, thereby maintaining the status of both show and station. So what went well for both parties in this negotiation? Well, let's see. The cast got paid an obscene amount of money per half-hour episode, and the studio got to keep running the most watched show of Thursday night. As if that wasn't enough, the show also opened up the doors for other show casts to negotiate for higher salaries on other stations. When we discuss the things that went wrong, only one thing could be found, and that is that NBC ended up having to pay Warner Brothers upwards of $6.5 million for the show per episode, up from $5.5 million for the previous year. As if that wasn't bad enough, NBC would have to absorb most of that increase, and because of this, Friends remained the most expensive show of that time. So in the end, Friends is and always will be one of the most popular shows for NBC, still airing in syndication all around the world, more than a decade old. In the end, a deal was reached that would prove to be one of great success for both parties. The studio would be able to maintain their spot and retain their then most popular show of all time, one that would continue to earn them billions of dollars in syndication years after the show's final airing. As a caveat to this deal, the cast was stated numerous times that should they be asked to come back for a reunion show, they would be more than willing to do so. Well, the world is still waiting, but for how much longer is anyone's guess. Thank you for watching my presentation.